Jai Hind, everyone. As part of our weekly lectures, we are blessed to have another one in this week and on a very, very important topic. I recollect of having visited Andaman and Nicobar Island some time back, and when I visited Cellular Jail and the Rose Island, I was really, inclined to appreciate the Britishers that in that kind of time frame from away from the mainland, they created those kind of structures. But as I started seeing India, whether in the southern states, the kind of temples, caves are in the northern India, west, eastern, you go anywhere, the architectural marvel, the knowledge, and the kind of application of mind, which is there, is something mind-boggling. In fact, there are a number of structures which have been created over 3 to 4 centuries, and the kind of trigonometric and arithmetical accuracies which have been brought in, they are so good that a normal labor without knowledge cannot really dispute that. And there are examples in abundance. But somewhere along the line, as we grew as a nation, about 800 years or so, our knowledge got diminished. Our historical content, which could have been shared from generation to generation, also got left out to a large extent. But I think post-independence, slowly and steadily, and more so in the recent times, we are trying to reinvent and realize that the India was Sone ki Chidiya is not a mere statement. That is a different perspective. I don't know how many of you know that when Britishers came to India, so West Bengal, the Calcutta region itself had the 30% GDP of the world. We were that kind of richness. In fact, even when at the end of the Mughal Empire, India was a wealthy nation. But this wealth is a different kind of wealth. We were more wealthier as far as the knowledge is concerned, the statecraft is concerned, and time has now come to look at those issues in entirety. In fact, when the concept of Atmanirbharta was propagated by the current Prime Minister, it was not related to defense manufacturing that we become independent and indigenous. That was one small part. Atmanirbharta really meant that right from conception till execution, everything should be, our own in statecraft, including the defense forces. So, one project Udhav was launched, and some studies, have started happening, and people have realized, even in whatever quantum we have our ancient text, there is a lot of knowledge which can be looked at, and out of that, which is applicable to current times in terms of the a lot of technological changes have taken place, a lot of geopolitical changes have taken place. Nation states have emerged in a particular format, but still there is a lot of lessons which can be adopted. We couldn't have got a better person than Brigadier Rajpurohit, whom I have been known. We commanded the formations, the same sector together, and his knowledge, is mind-boggling on this particular subject, which you will know shortly. I am also grateful to him that he took his time off despite his busy schedule, after which he came here concluding his Chardhan Yatra. So besides the ancient knowledge, he is also spiritually enlightened at this point of time. So I would now request Dr. Urpi Pura to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, sir. Brigadier Jeewan Rajpurohit, retired, is a soldier scholar from the Indian Army. He brings a unique blend of 37 years of military experience and academic prowess. His leadership journey includes commanding his unit, 4 Jammu and Kashmir Rifles Regiment in JNK, and a brigade in the challenging high-altitude area of Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh. He has also served as Brigadier General Staff Concepts at Headquarters Army Training Command at Shimla and Deputy General Officer Commanding of Jammu Division. His academic achievements include being an instructor and head of the faculty of Department of Organization Behavior and Strategic Management at the College of Defense Management, Secunderabad. He has been commanded prize for his bravery by the Army Chief and once for academic excellence by the Chairman Chiefs of Staff Committee. His excellence in commanding the brigade was acknowledged by His Excellency, Governor of Arunachal Pradesh, with silver medal. Brigadier Rajpurohit has played a crucial role in the democratization process as a negotiator in the UN Mission Cambodia. He is a consultant with the Indian Knowledge System Division of MOE and convener with the National Testing Agency in Delhi. He speaks on Arthashastra at national and international forums. He holds doctoral and MPhil degrees in management, a master's in management studies, and an MSc in defense studies. His expertise is recognized by the Accredited Management Teacher accreditation from the AIMA. His global academic engagements include presenting papers at Dhaka University on job satisfaction and in Slovenia and Sri Lanka on heterodox leadership. He is Vice President of Wider Association of Vedic Studies and a resource person with the Center for Conflict Management, a global voluntary initiative to bring peace to the world. He has spoken on international forums in Australia, Germany, China, Egypt, and Slovenia on management and Indian knowledge system. He is a motivational speaker and customizes capsules to suit the needs of the organizations. He is a defense expert with TV9, Daily India, and Punjab Kesari. His book, Nation Building and Role of Indian Armed Forces, is under print, as is another one. Leadership Beyond Barracks is coming out.
Great. Thank you. Jai Hind, everyone. At the outset, I must convey my sincere thanks to General Ashok for inviting me to this talk. It's a humble attempt to share Indian knowledge system and what we have had in the past with the present generation and the generations beyond. Thank you, Dr. Ulupi, for an elaborate input. I am a humble soldier, remain an infantry soldier all along. Let's get on to the point. Chanakya's vision of Bharat straightway comes from Rig Veda that says, Bhadrayam Sumato Yatam. Let us strive for wisdom. Focus on wisdom. That leads to welfare of all. Focus on welfare. So wisdom on one side, welfare on another side. Combine the two and you find Chanakya's vision, envisioning Indian strategic thought. And I shall attempt to give you a strategic perspective of his vision for the current century and contemporary times. Let's see what we have in store for you. It's a humble attempt to share what was his vision, how he analyzed his thought processes, his concepts, and the concept of Bharatvarsh, which he called Jambudweep. From Himalaya to Samudra Paryant, he said, Bharat ka kankan, mera hai, mera adhikar hai. So when he says mera adhikar, it goes to say adhikar of Janpad. Every member of the society is owner of this land. And when it starts with that, the welfare becomes the ultimate. And that's how he formulated the concept of welfare state. That comes as part of concepts that he has propagated. While talking about Chanakya, I shall also bring to fore what is the present concept of strategic thought that we Indians have also learned for Americans, called a process of net assessment. We brought it from them, used it for our state, and then have developed it. But did we look at in the past? Yes and no. We shall talk about it by crystal gazing through his vision and what lies ahead for us. Right. Before I go actually to the vision that he gave out, let me give you an overview of Arthashastra. I'm sure majority of you have gone through Arthashastra. You understand Arthashastra. It is our own home-built Arthashastra. The original copy lies in Royal Museum of Mysore. Any one of you visiting Mysore, please make it a point to go and salute this hero who's given us the concept to which there is no parallel in the world today. We talk of Plato, Aristotle, Machiavelli, Sun Tzu. There's nowhere come close to what Chanakya has given. You put all of them together and you will find the wealth given by Chanakya is more than all of them put together. I say with fair amount of conviction. When he talks about Arthashastra, the two words, Arth and Shastra. I'm sure you know what Earth means. It means money. It means meaning. It means planet. So when you say material being, Earth, finances, he says there is no welfare of the state without finances. When you say meaning, it says what is the meaning of your life? Why have you come on this earth? And when you look into this, there is an objective because of which you come here. And if you fulfill that objective, you're blessed. And the third is the planet itself. And when you look holistically, it provides you everything possible in this planet and in this Brahman or the universe. Shastra, we understand, is the knowledge part and a book that holds this. So Chanakya's Arthashastra contains all of them, and he starts with the concept of welfare state. So when it comes to welfare state, it starts with the word called Raksha. Unless a state is protected, there can be no growth. And therefore, Raksha is the primary objective. Raksha or protection of the people and protection of territory. It includes both of them. In contemporary context, you can say a country has both of them. But when you raise the level to Rashtra, nation probably is the closest equivalent. The second concept of Arthashastra is Palan. Palan, we all understand, is to look after, guide, take care. So a king is required to take care of the nation. It not only includes people in the territory, it includes the culture of the state. It includes welfare of the people. It includes nature as well. And the third major concept that is given is Yogakshema. Yogakshema comprises of two words. Yoga, jodna. Kshema is welfare. When you combine your entire Rashtra together for its welfare, then you achieve the supreme welfare. And hence the concept of welfare state that he created. And all the elements of a state, unless they work towards welfare of the people, territory, and the environment, it is not a successful state. And therefore, when we talk of Yogakshema in contemporary times, it encompasses much more than what we say national interest. Arthashastra, whether it is a science or art, it is a combination of a work that includes internal and external spheres. That includes administration, politics, diplomacy, all put together. Combined together, it has got 15 books, 150 chapters, and almost 6,000 shlokas. Let me add on one more point here, that Arthashastra, that was for the first time found in Tanjavur in Chennai in 1905 by Shama Shastri, a librarian of Mysore Library. Only about 60% of the Arthashastra was discovered. And since then, a large number of scholars have worked around to look for the balance 47. It is unfortunate that Professor R.P. Kangle of Mumbai University in 1960 went around the entire country, and at the end of it, he concluded that this 40% we have lost. Even with the balance 60%, if we can do justice, I think a great would have been achieved. Let me take you back through the times. We know Treta Yuga. We know Dwapar Yuga. Treta relates to Bhagwan Ram. Dwapar relates to Bhagwan Krishna, which I am wanting you to focus on the areas where it is, red and blue stars. Also look at the violet-colored Magad Raj or Magad Rashtra. That was almost 500 BCE. If you come closer home, you find that those days there were 16 Janapads, 16 states, and there were issues and competitions, etc. Between them. And once Chanakya came in for, the entire set of 16 Janapads became one state. one eruption, which he called Jambudweep. Let me take you closer home to Chandragupta Maurya and Chanakya. 323 BCE, this was the area with the Nanda dynasty. Nandas were known for their terrible rule, autocracy, and a lot of crimes, punishments, and so on. Dhananand was the last ruler who was ousted by Chanakya, and he installed Chandragupta Maurya as the king. There's a story, I'm sure you all know, how Chandragupta Maurya came about in far, how 12 years in the jungles of Madhya Pradesh, Chanakya spent not only creating the future king, but creating the resources, finances, forces for the state that would come into existence. Let's see beyond. When Chanakya moved from Takshila to Magadh, Takshila is the university where he used to be teaching politics, which is presently in Pakistan. He came to Magadh and realized that so much of atrocity is going on. And then he went around meeting the teachers, scholars, Brahmins, and so many. I'm giving you an excerpt of his meeting one of these scholars, and what he says. Kindly, please listen.
क्यों तुम व्यर्थ अनुष्ठान करना चाहते हो? आचार्य के अनुसार सामने जो शास्त्र सोने का पेट उसे नष्ट करने में फिर भी एक सामान्य सदस्य अंधेरे से दूसरे जीव तक पहुंचता है, इसलिए वही उसका धर्म है। मैं जानता हूं कि बात करते समय शास्त्र और शास्त्रों की रक्षा करने का दायित्व सत्ता, सामर्थ्य और व्यापार परंपराओं की अवहेलना के आचार्य की परंपराओं को छोड़ देंगे, इसकी रक्षा करने का दायित्व हमारे संशोधन हिंदुओं के राज्य में क्षमा से पर क्या नंदों का राज्य है? मत यदि समस्या का कारण नंदों के पश्चात समस्या का परिवर्तन ही है, और यदि चुनौती परिस्थिति जन परिवर्तनों ने टीवी के पार्टी सकते हैं, संभव है कि उन्हें आपके शास्त्रों में आस्था न हो। इससे आपकी अपने शास्त्रों के प्रति आस्था विचलित क्यों रही है? यदि प्रमाणित करना चाहते हैं आप अपने ही शास्त्र तो आपको अपने शास्त्र के अनुसार चीजें दिखाना। समय के आधार उत्तर समय की बात किया जा सकता है। क्या आप इतने प्रकाश कर क्या तुम मुझे समझाने का प्रयत्न करो? मैं तो आपके पास मार्गदर्शन की अपेक्षा से आया हूं और अपने स्वार्थ के लिए आपको रोकने का प्रयत्न कर रहा हूं। आचार्य कहने को मैं चला जाऊंगा, पर इतना अवश्य कहना चाहूंगा कि भाई अभी बहुत हो तो निर्बल अपने शास्त्रों की रक्षा नहीं कर पाए और इसके लिए ज्ञान के पराक्रम की आवश्यकता है। अगर चुनौती समय की हो तो शास्त्र नहीं कहा कि शास्त्र कभी काल बाय नहीं रहता। दोनों ही स्थितियों में वर्तमान हमारी है आचार्य। हमें शास्त्र को आधार देना स्थितियों से पलायन क्षमा करें आचार्य, मैं अपना विश्वास प्रकट करने की भावना से भी कह रहा हूँ कि शिक्षक किसी भी युग में फिर पाठ्य पत्र से प्रयाण करते और शास्त्रों की विजय शिक्षक के पाठ्य पत्र से प्रयाण करने में नहीं है आचार्य। शिक्षक का दौर तो तब बढ़ेगा जब वही शब्द के नीचे संगठित होगा और विजयी वही पर संगठित हो फिर वही राम पर श्राप होगा। मुझे आगे दीजिए।
So that is what was the status during Chandragupta Maurya's time, when no one was ready to help, and atrocities were so much that people like Chandragupta Maurya would have been killed by Nandas any day. For a Brahmin with just one stole and nothing else to his own self, he not only survived, but he thrived. How did he do that? And what was the statecraft principles that he gave out? We will talk about this as we go by. So when he finally threw out the Nandas, Chandragupta Maurya came in, and by the time 305, that is almost 20 plus years of rule by Chandragupta Maurya, entire northern India was part of Magadh. One generation. And by the time he moved on to Samrat Ashok, I'll show you the entire India was, or Bharatvarsh was part of it. But before that, let me show you some sort of atrocities being committed by Nandas in his times. You can see a picture of Brahmin Acharya Chanakya standing in front of Mahamatya, or senior minister of Nandas. Please listen to the conversation and you'll understand the atrocities.
यदि आप आपके साथ इस पर मैंने कौन करेगा महामंत्री के आज जन्मदिन यदि आप हिंदू के प्रति निष्ठावान आप अगर संकुचित राजनीति कार्यक्रम सोच बदलाव करें तो मेरी भारत के प्रति निष्ठा मुझे बात करती है जो भारत से वादा और आवश्यकता पड़ने जब विश्व को सांस के जमीन के साथ विरोध कर रहे हैं तो मेरी मां कहीं नहीं है नहीं और मदद कर रही है हिमालय से एक पार्ट कर लिया है एक राष्ट्र व्यक्ति मां के दर्द के साथ प्रतिगदा और जिस संस्कृति की तरफ से मैंने जन्म लिया है जिस जगह पर मैंने जन्म लिया है उसका नाम है तो मुझे आप और राज्य ने जाना पड़ रहा है जब जब आवाज से राज्य सवाल आमते करते हैं एक बार कि नंग अगर इस रात का एक नाम है और इस पारे पे
You saw the determination in Chanakya. And this kind of determination is the one that has led him to create Arthashastra, led him to create Bharatvarsh that we had those times. Look at the map, Samrat Ashok, the third generation after Chandragupta Maurya, his son, and the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. Entire Bharat from Gandhar to Bengal and Kashmir to Kanyakumari, less the southern portion of present-day Tamil Nadu, was entire Bharat. It includes entire South Asia of today. South Asia is approximately 5 million square kilometers. Magad those days, or Bharat Rashtra, was 5.2 million square kilometers. Almost 50 to 60 million population of those days, as compared to 140 of India alone today. See the transparency, technology, internet, and the resources available with us today, vis-a-vis his man and the horse available in those days. How did he achieve it? Unless the SOPs are so strong, unless the methodology is so strong, you cannot really create that. I have taken my information from these open sources. They are available free of cost. Open line, you can go to governmentofindia.library, and in case you require, I have these PDF files available, open to you for everyone. Arthashastra contains 15 chapters. The first 6 chapters includes internal administration, which is called Tantra. And the balance part, 6 to 13, is external policies and preparing for war. Chapter 6 is dual keeping between the internal as well as external administration. Why? We'll see that. Chapter 7 talks of constituents of states. How does our government is formed? Present day government or those days government, will discuss all those things. Book 7 talks about 6-fold policies. Say Shadgunya or Shadguna is a major policy of diplomacy, of war, as well as growth. How does it imply in our life today? We will talk. Vyasanas or calamities or disaster management, he spared a complete book only on this. And he says, as compared to the natural disaster, Human disaster is almost 10 times. And he said man-made disaster is more dangerous than what the God of the nature gives us. Because the intent of the man can cause destruction. Book 9 talks about works of invader. Some of these details are available. I shall skip them for want of time and go on straight to the major topic of his major concept that I wish to share with you. But each of these books, whether relating to war or book on managing and overcoming a powerful enemy, he leaves no stone unturned in giving deliberate and detailed account of all of them. Book 15 talks about the plans of a treatise. How to create a major statehood is what it comes to. Let me come to the brass tacks now. I'll do a net assessment perspective of what exists today, and then I'll take you to the concepts given by Chanakya. There are a large number of them. I'm primarily covering these 5, and more if you require, I'll give you. Net assessment is a process that has been developed by America to carry out assessment of power and capability of any nation. And they do it by way of something called PEST, assessing and understanding political, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental issues of each state, and then understand what is their major source, major resources, and based on those resources, what are the capabilities of nation, and what kind of threat or support they can render to each other. That's how they carry out net assessment. They do it in near distance area, regional, and then international. This is a famous slide that I've taken from College of Defense Management, wherein the net assessment technique used by Americans is explained. Environmental scan is what they do base means capacity analysis and the pestle analysis. Based on these two kind of analysis, a SWOT analysis is carried out, and SWOT analysis gives them short-term perspectives or short-term objectives that can be achieved. Now, based on the entire thing, a scenario building process is carried out. And this scenario building process gives them long-term strategies. Now, combined together, short and long-term strategies finally give you out national security strategies. Similar is the process if you see the net assessment being done by us is being followed. That is how the national strategy, military strategy, and the Army, Navy, Air Force strategies and theater command strategies, etc., are being worked out. So this is how they do it. How did Chanakya do it? One of the famous statements by Americans, Barack Obama talked about it. He says national interest. America moves on national interest. Friends and enemies are decided by national interest. Look at what Chanakya said 2,500 years ago. He said there is no nation, no state, no Rashtra that can exist in isolation. You and me cannot, obviously. You need help from each other. You can be depending on others, or you can be interdependent with each other. And he says this national paradigm, there are no permanent friends. Only the national interest is permanent. Friends and enemies in the interstate relations will be primarily decided by something called circle of state, Rajmandal theory, which I shall subsequently discuss. Then he says your neighbor can never be your friend. आप अपने neighborhood में देख लीजिए. You have a professional rivalry, घर के पड़ोस के अंदर, you have a problem for parking, problem for so many things. So with two nations, as neighbors are bound to have challenges. Challenges of migration, challenges of border, challenges of import-export, and so many other activities which each one would want in its favor. Take the case of India and Nepal, India, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, India, Maldives. What is happening around? You all can understand and correlate that bordering state or a neighbor is a very difficult friend to maintain. And Chanakya ensured ways and means to make or create a good friend out of a neighbor. Then he says Kingdom is an ally or enemy according to geographical position and with the intention that a conqueror has, a nation has. So geographical position and the nation, these two would decide as to how strong a nation would become. And then the wise king trained in politics can win over any chaturanta mahit. He says all four corners can be won by a king who is well versed in the politics and the diplomacy. One of the major concepts given by Chanakya for making a welfare state or for his statecraft is given in book 1, chapter 9, verse 34. It says, Praja sukhe sukham ragyam, prajanam tu hite hitam, or not priyam hitam ragyam, prajanam tu hite hitam. He says, Praja ke sukh mein hi raja ka sukh hai. If your population is happy, the king should feel happy. प्रजा के हित में ही उसे अपना हित दिखना चाहिए. In the welfare of the population of the people, the king should see his welfare. The two are not different, not divergent. And then he says, जो स्वयं को प्रिय लगे उसमें राजा का हित नहीं है. Whatever king likes is not necessarily what is good for state, but whatever is good for state is definitely good for the king. उसका हित तो प्रजा को जो अच्छा लगे उसमें है. I'll give you an example. You know, I'm sure you know whom did Chandragupta marry? Chandragupta Maurya? Why? A Greek general, his daughter, no connection. And by the way, Chandragupta Maurya had a girlfriend. Who was the girlfriend? Daughter of Dhananand, the king Dhananand, his daughter. So when the time came, so Raja went to Guru, he says, Acharya, आज्ञा दीजिए, blessings दीजिए. And Chanakya says no. राजा का हित प्रजा के हित में, राजा का हित देश के हित में. And as you said, he married Helen, daughter of Seleucus. Why? The story of Alexander and all the Greek generals of Alexander unable to cross Indus River. They never could invade. Why? And there was no war. Western historians will not tell you this. Why did Alexander go back? Why did the generals could not cross and come into, when they conquered so much, whom they cross Indus? Chanakya. No war, but no one crossed, and they all went back. Alexander died in Afghanistan on his way back. Why? Go into details, you will find. You'll find what is given in this concept comes true on ground. He created that kind of concept. And he followed it in total. He says if a Raja can do that, or if a government can do that, the present government of ours can do this, I think the job is done. We are on the right path to become the best, biggest, strongest nation in the world. But there are glitches which we are unable to solve as of today. I'm sure the days will come when they will also be solved. He says, Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha. This is the process of life of an individual and life of a nation. Dharma, we understand, कर्तव्य, मुझे अपना काम करना चाहिए. एक duty के लिए I have come and I must do that. When I do my dharma, the dharma has to be in sync with yogaksha, welfare of the state. I shouldn't only work for myself, I should work for the state. When I work for my dharma, whichever profession I'm in, I get artha, I get my finances. So you get whatever you do. Right? And then he says, when you get these finances, please enjoy this. Kama. Kama is not related to what you normally think. Kama is enjoy the facilities, enjoy the planet, enjoy whatever God has given to you, given to all of us, using artha or finances that you have got based on what dharma you conducted. And if you are able to cross these three lines, you are approved and through for moksha. And he says, you cannot jump the line and say, oh, today I'll decide and become moksha. No. That's just not possible. You're fooling yourself, you're fooling the state. And for a king, the dharma and all that is towards welfare of the state, and we need to follow this. Those days, he said, states are three types. Samarajya, Hina Rajya, Balwan Rajya. equal, smaller, and the bigger. And he classified, there's a chapter on each one of them, so beautifully given. कि अगर बराबर का राज्य है, how should you indulge with them? Interstate relations should be maintained accordingly. A small state should not be considered a small neighboring state. He may have a collusion with a Balwan state and you may be in trouble too. We have Western neighbor. So he says, understand this kind of thing. And if there is a powerful nation who's your neighbor, you need to maintain and manage it so well that he doesn't trouble you. We have a major neighbor, but your alliances might help. So the details given by him gives out very clear ways and means how to manage your interstate relations with the neighbors and far. Then power, he says, strength comes out of three different means. Mantrabal, the diplomatic, intellectual, sovereign power, intellectual power is Mantrabal. Prabhubal is the power of your treasury, power of your sovereignty. And the third bal, he says, is Utsahabal, which primarily means willpower. You can understand which is the most important. Willpower, he said, is the most important strength. If you have the willpower, everything else will follow. Otherwise, others will also fall flat. Let me give you some concepts of Acharya Chanakya that led us to become the super state or the largest empire those days. Upayas is one which commonly known as Chanakya Niti. Shukra Niti also deals and talks about the same. But Chanakya has given out very four simple terms to all of us. What are these? Sam, Dam. No, sorry, it is not a Dand and Grain. Majority of us understand that way. Thank you for opening up. And saying Sam, Dam, Bhed and Dand. He said Dand is the one which must not be used. Dand should also just be shown. Unless it becomes very, very inevitable, please don't use power. The other three are the means by which everything else can be done. And now you understand why Alexander went back. He used Sam, Dam, and Bhed. Sam is by talking, pure talking, love and affection. You have an interest, I have an interest, we sit and resolve it. Dam is you have your personal interest, which may be counter to my interest. So we need to talk about it. And once we talk about it, I should be able to adjust with you. And in order to ensure that I and you win, both of us win, the third portion is very important. Bhed is very important. Information system is very important. And his information system, which is commonly called a spy system, was so elaborate and deliberate that each individual, out of their own concern for the state, would give out information of others who were going against the state. And in case you have to use information of the other state in order to negotiate and on equal terms or your winning terms, use information system. And he created that kind of information system wherein if a king is to be eliminated or a trade is to be successfully conducted, the information, exact information was available. And mind you, his fastest means of information was a horseman. And he created that. And Dand is the one which said, use only if must, but always maintain the powerful army. Those days, he had an army of 6 lakh soldiers, 30,000 horses and war chariots, 9,000 elephants, war elephants. Not only capturing, but training them and training them for wars. Needed a lot of skills. And when Chandragupta Maurya was married to Helen, he gave 500 elephants to Seleucus. What did Seleucus do? He used elephants, turned westward and plundered. He never crossed this. I hope you get the point. You use them in a manner that it helps the state. The second major aspect was, what is the composition of a state? Saptanga theory. Every state should have, must have 7 elements, 7 components in the state. And what are these 7 elements? Every herd in the nature, whether it is a cow herd or elephant herd or a bird flock, has the most powerful member as the king or the leader of the herd. He is the Swami. His job is not only to lead, he is to look after the entire herd. Similarly, as in nature, the herd population of people must have a Swami who is the most powerful, both physically and mentally, and is able to look after the people. So the first element is the king himself. The second is ministers. Matya and Amatya. Selection of ministers had to be very, very critical. Such details is given to select a minister. And those days he had 34 departments. 34 departments. Men, women equally distributed. Capability was the only criteria. And ministers were the ones who would run the administration of the state, both internal and external. The third was Janpad, people themselves, and the territory. The fourth was Durg or fort. Durg or fort doesn't mean only a palace. It meant the entire defense system of a Janpad and of the Rashtra, of the forest, of the civil people, civil area where people lived, of the irrigation and the trade, everything combined. The next one was treasury or kosh. The treasury had to be full for any country to thrive. He said that must never go down, and he created means by which treasury would never reduce. Even if there was disaster, he had created means by which the treasury will be filled. The money would flow out to help the people, but equal amount of money would flow in. And therefore, taxation in those days was almost 25 to 30%. We are crying for our revenues and taxes today. But even those days, he ensured that that kind of taxes were paid by people. Dand, Sena, we spoke, and Mitra. He says Mitra is very, very essential. Mitra also he qualified in 4 different terms. Let me give that to you. Mitra is a Mitra who out of interest is your friend. The second is when interest of both the friends increase, he becomes a competitor. So competitor is also a Mitra. The third is when you want to become better than me, you become a rival. Rival is also a Mitra. And fourth is, from rivalry, you said you will destroy me. You become my enemy. And therefore, enemy is also my friend. Mitra is of 4 kinds. Now reverse the trend and see if your enemy is there, can he become your friend? Is there a scope? Yes. Can a rival become your competitor or a friend? Yes, there is a scope. You give him what you want. Use and create, and a friend will remain friend so far as you meet each other's interest. The next policy or concept that he gave out is 6-fold policy or Shadguna. Very, very vibrant and multifarious policy that he gave out. He said on one side is Sandhi or Shanti. On the far end is Vigraha or war. So between Sandhi and war, Shanti and war, peace and war, the nation oscillates. How does a nation oscillates? He does large number of, he takes an asana. Let me show you the next slide. But before that, I'll just give out the types of war that he gave out. It can be an open war, it can be a diplomatic war, and it can be a Chadma war or Tikshma war. So Mantra, Prakash, and Tikshma were 3 different types of wars, he said. And then Tikshma, he further subdivided and said, Kuta Yuddha and Kuda Yuddha. Clandestine war, secret war. The kind of details he gives out is mind-boggling. Let me show this. Okay. So when a nation is there, Asan is one wherein a nation wants to maintain neutrality and be balanced between the war and the peace. And Samashraya is one wherein it's equivalent to calling alliances. Alliances could be military alliances, trade alliances, and so on in order to maintain your balance, Asan or neutrality. And in all cases, you must be ready for a war. Yana. Be prepared for war all the time. Therefore, armed forces must be ready to launch at any point of time, and yet you maintain your balance. So now you can understand why the powerful nation, why so many treaties across by Magad Rashtra, and creating influence in the other states so that states merge in themselves and feel very happy about it without even a war. They get merged without capture. People feel happy. The conquered territory and conquered people would feel as good as own citizens. That is the concept that he created. Goodwill is so much. And therefore, welfare or Yogakshema becomes ultimate when you talk of any of these concepts. Let me come to the last part of his concept, which is called Rajmandal theory or Mandal theory or circle of states. By different authors, they call it different. As a nation, if you want to grow, first is any nation that wants to conquer and grow, any king that wants to grow is called a Vijayisha, conqueror king or a conqueror state. Now, when you are a state who wants to grow, what he said, your neighbor cannot be your friend. So your neighbor can be either Ari, a nation in front, or a Parshnigra, a nation in the rear. He gave a nation of front and rear. In our context, it is all around in contemporary times. But understand that your neighbor is an Ari, Dushman. And Dushman is also a Mitra. Ari is also a Mitra. He qualified Mitra, what I explained. And then neighbor of your neighbor is his enemy. So your enemy's enemy is your friend. So as a result, what you see in green, Vijayisha and Mitra are friends. And the neighbor of Mitra becomes enemy of Mitra. And your friend's enemy is your enemy. Therefore, is your enemy. And therefore, when he created circle of states, he created in a manner that if you just take 3 lines and understand that Ari, Mitra, Mitra, and Ari, Mitra, Mitra. These 3 circles, if you draw, you can understand that this circle of 12 states can be identified. I'll give you a little detail later. Then he says there may be another nation which is slightly away from you, but a powerful nation and a neutral nation. Not necessarily your neighbor. Call him Madhyama. And that Madhyama can be cultivated to become your best friend. There may be another nation very far away and a powerful nation. Call him Udasina. Can you correlate in contemporary times? China, Russia, America, Brazil, Australia. Are you able to place them in different categories of Madhyama stroke Udasina? Do you see our reach, reaction, and approach to the international relations with them in contemporary times? Do they match with what Rajmandala or circle of states is? We just need to put things together, and you find that what net assessment is doing today, Chanakya had done it long back in his own manner. In one paper of mine, when I analyzed why is Vietnam our friend? And when you understand that Vietnam is your friend because of circle of states, because Vietnam is a neighbor of your enemy, China. So China's neighbor is an enemy of China and is your friend, a natural friend. Therefore, our collaboration with China, therefore our collaboration in South China Sea, therefore the Videsh Nigam is there, an entire country and Vietnam and so much. So when you put together, you start understanding that the concept works. And how does the circle works? I'll give you 4 circles. Sorry. 4 circles you identify. Circle 1 is yourself, Vijayisha, and therefore your close neighbors are your enemies. And then you have yourself, your friend, and your friend's friend. So you cannot just count 3 for the time being. Similarly, your neighbor is your enemy, and he also has his friend and his friend. So there are 3 others who are your enemies. The circle 3 is Madhyama, far off state, and it has also got 3 friends. And then you have Udasina, again, their circle and 3 friends. So if you take 4 of these circles and each of them 3, that makes it to 12 states that are your friends. Natural friends. आपको सोचने की जरूरत नहीं है. You just start investing in those friends. Go a little beyond. I gave you 7 elements of a state. Saptanga theory. In each out of these 7 elements, you leave out the last 2. Last 2 was your friend and army. सेना, ये 2 छोड़ दो, बाकी 5 को आप रखो. What are these 5? These 5 are your king, your minister, your people, your fort, your treasury, and the army is included. Instead of king is included army. I stand corrected. So these are 5 elements of each of these states, and 12 states are your friends. So 12 into 5 makes it 60 elements that can be exploited by a Vijayashwara, a conquering nation, for their advantage. Now you use this theory in a circle which I created, and I'll show you that to you. But before that, he says all this will succeed only if anuthane dhruvo nasha. शासक का ये कर्तव्य है कि लोगों को अनुशासित रखे, प्राप्तस्य न गतस्य च, और उनकी कार्य संस्कृति को प्रेरित करे, उनको डिसिप्लिन बना के रखे और उनका कार्य संस्कृति काम करवाए, निकम्मा न छोड़े. So discipline and the kartavya or dharma, because dharma is related to moksha, dharma is related to yogakshema. So you and me will do dharma for myself and for my nation. So discipline and work is most important duty of a king. Then you say prapyate phalamutthana labhate charth sampadam. अनुशासन और कार्य संस्कृति की एब्सेंस में और अभाव में आर्थिक प्रगति नहीं हो सकती. There is no growth without discipline and the workforce working sincerely. And in a society where people are not diligent, जहाँ लोग लापरवाह, they do not want to work, they do not understand the value of time, and the ruler is busy in his own growth, own self-interest. शासन चलाने वाले अपने हित में लगे रहे, वहां संपन्नता कहां से हो? If a minister is found with lakhs and lakhs of rupees, how do you think that place will grow? If you have correct ministers who do not understand the value of time, value of discipline, value of the work, how will a nation grow? He said it those days. And we are still working on what? Manrega. Give money to people and make them nikamma. The concept is make them disciplined and make them work. And if they follow this, they will earn and the nation will. I'll give you a case of a study, a paper that I wrote on India, and I'll give 4 circles of India. I'll taking one, the inner green, our immediate neighbors, China, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Maldives, and add Seychelles also. The circle 2 is our circle 1, our neighbors circle. Take China and see the neighbors of China. All the neighbors of China are by nature our friends. We need to just exploit. South Korea, Russia, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan. How much of India is invested into all of them? In billions and billions. In all of them. Afghanistan, despite being a Muslim country, is a neighbor to our Western neighbor Pakistan, and therefore is a natural friend. And therefore we are there. Therefore, the Balochistan problem is coming. Therefore, POK problem is coming. So if you understand in that context, it gets you there. Pakistan, of course, is neighbor's neighbor and our neighbor as well. Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam. You see the complexities now. What we are doing and what Chanakya had thought, I'm just putting in the perspective. And the neighbors of Pakistan, we see that some of them can also become our friends. Go to the next layer. Madhyama. Udasina. Madhyama could be China, could be Russia. Udasin could be Russia, USA, and many more states. In Europe, in South America, in Australia. And if you draw these circles and name the states and then start working and investing, you find that this circle provides you ideal minimum 72 different elements which can be explored, which can be used for growth of our nation. And any nation that follows this is bound to succeed, Use the same principles in today's context, 21st century, Indian perspective. How are our relations with our neighbors? And the moment we've started interacting with them, less Pakistan, all are converting to positive stance. Instead of China claiming the border areas, villages, and so on, Nepal has started becoming better friend. Same is with Bangladesh. Same is with Myanmar, Sri Lanka. See the case of Maldives. Despite being an excellent friend, it turned enemy. Yet we followed possibly some of these principles wherein now a thaw is there. Instead of being a strong enemy, he's become a rival. And maybe in due course, he may once again become a friend. Strategic ties in regional spheres, see our regional spheres. International strategic interests, if you put whether it is a Russia-Ukraine war or Israel-Hamas war or any of the trade treaties that exist, whether it is G7 or Quad or BRICS or SCO, you find that the efficacy of the principles of Chanakya are relevant. You may carry out your own individual independent analysis. We can further on discuss. I have left a lot of the blocks and circles open and vacant for us to analyze and fill in the details that we can invest and grow on it. And then I come to the last part of the session wherein I wish to exhort to all of us that being Chanakya is not enough, but being an awakened India through people like Chanakya is the need of the hour. What did he do when Alexander was about to attack? He went around the country talking to people, talking to every sect of the society and awakening them. And he incorporated teachers as the major elements, elders of the society as major elements to spread awakening. How does he do that? I'll share this quick small video. Please enjoy the video.
और ये राष्ट्र सफल व सक्षम तब होगा जब शिक्षक अपने उत्तरदायित्व का निर्वाह करने में सफल और शिक्षक सफल तब कहा जाएगा जब वह प्रत्येक व्यक्ति में राष्ट्रीय चरित्र का निर्माण करने में सफल यदि व्यक्ति राष्ट्र भाव से अपनी राष्ट्रीयता के प्रति सजग नहीं है तो यह और वहां साक्षी है कि राष्ट्रीय चरित्र के राष्ट्र हमारा अनुभव है शस्त्र से पहले हम शास्त्र की पराजित हम शस्त्र और शास्त्र धारण करने वालों को राष्ट्रीयता का बोध नहीं करा पाए इससे पहले हमारी राष्ट्रीय शिक्षक इस राष्ट्र की राष्ट्रीयता व सामर्थ्य को जागृत करने में शिक्षक पराजय स्वीकार करने से पराजय का भाव राष्ट्र के तथा वेद वंदना के साथ साथ राज वंदना का स्वर भी दिशाओं में गिरना आवश्यक है व्यक्ति का वास्तव में यह आभास कराना कि यदि व्यक्ति की राष्ट्र की उपासना में आप नहीं रही तो उपासना के अन्य मार्ग में पाएंगे अतः कम से कम समाज के राष्ट्र आवश्यक है अतः शीघ्र ही समाज व राष्ट्र को एक सूत्र में बांधना होगा शिक्षक इस चुनौती को स्वीकार करे वह शीघ्र ही राष्ट्र का निर्माण करे संभव है कि आज के मार्ग में बांधते हैं पर शिक्षक को उन पर विजय पानी होगी और आवश्यकता पड़े तो शिक्षक स्वस्थ उठाने में भी पीछे ना मैं स्वीकार करता हूं कि शिक्षक का सामर्थ्य शास्त्र है यदि मार्ग में शस्त्र बाधक हो और राष्ट्र मार्ग के तक को शस्त्र की भाषा समझते हो तो शिक्षक से अपने सामर्थ्य का परिचय अवश्य है सामर्थ्य शिक्षक अपने शास्त्र की व्याख्या नहीं करता है संभव है कि शास्त्र में बांधने के लिए शिक्षक को समर्थ रहना है सत्ताओं के राष्ट्र महत्वपूर्ण है राजनीतिक सत्ताओं के हितों के राष्ट्र के महत्वपूर्ण है राष्ट्र की गेड़ी देनी पड़े तो भी कुछ न करें सहित अवंतवाद की राजनीति ने किया और मैं शासन मैंने कहा शिक्षक अपने तब प्रथम संस्कृति है निश्चित है शास्त्र के पूर्ण मूल्य को इस शास्त्र आवश्यकता मात्र
So that is what he said. Shikshak, teachers and the elders of the society are the essential bonds to grow the feeling of nationalism. राष्ट्रवाद तब आएगा जब हम सब एकजुट हों. What we see in the contemporary times, that the generation next is more interested in their own personal agendas. How much are they aligned towards the national interest, social interest, welfare of the nation will determine how much the nation will grow. The concept of self-growth, the social growth, and the national growth lies in one sync. One cannot deviate from this. One cannot separate from the other. And therefore, Chanakya's sutras and the concepts, some of them that I discussed, are the ones that can become extremely relevant in contemporary days. And as he said, no one can defeat a powerful mind. All that we need to create are individuals and individuals, host of individuals with powerful minds. And all those minds synchronized towards the national growth, towards yogaksha, towards making state the best state. With that, I come to the close of my session. If there are any questions, I shall be happy to share.